All right, everybody. Well, let's welcome you to the third episode of the Two Squirrels podcast. And I am Wilbur Lane, and I got my co host here, Mr. Liam Pierce. And today we decided to do something a little different. We're going to go raw and unscripted. So we don't really have a topic. We're just going to talk about what's going on in our lives right now and hit some high points and give you some nougats, as Liam would say the last time, right? Or did you say nut? I think you said
Yeah, it was nuts. It was nuts. Get the golden nut.
that's right. We're gonna give you some golden nuts today. So what's been going on with you, Liam?
Not much, man. I was out in Indiana speaking at an awesome Next Home office. Had a great time. I'm here. Then I'm going northwest here in a couple days, and then hopefully in a couple weeks I'll be up in New York. I'm just all over the place. So I like that. With us going to go unscripted, and we can just talk about real stuff. So, Will, with everything that goes on, running a brokerage, being a dad and being some friends and family, etc. What would you say today? What was it? What was something that maybe bothered you or really kind of pushed you in a certain way? Like what happened today? Let's kind of focus on that.
Was really on the focal point of my mind, and I kind of text you a little bit about this yesterday, is when you get so busy, you sort of forget to take care of yourself, right? So
Yeah.
health is really on the forefront of my mind, and there's a couple of reasons why that is. Well, one of the reasons is I just recently had a little scare myself. I went out showing houses and sort of blanked out at the showing. So opened the door, let the clients in, turned to go back to my car. The next thing I know, I'm picking myself up off the ground, right?
Oh,
So, so, and if I'm thinking, I probably didn't even eat hardly anything that day. So everything is back to back to back some days. And if you get busy, you forget to take care of yourself. And I just went on a trip to Pennsylvania, which I'm originally from Reading. And I have an uncle who's going through a little health scare as well. So health is on the forefront of my mind, specifically because I am a single dad. I am 50 years old. I'll be 51 in December. My daughter will be 5 in September. And so now I figure I'm at the point in my life where no matter how busy I am with the real estate, I do need to make health also a part of this and focus on that a little bit more. And honestly, I want to thank you because you were one of the people I kind of reached out to and was like, okay, this is what happened to me. And so how do we juggle that sort of thing? Because you do sort of put things to the wayside. Or if you think about it, it's easy for me to swing into McDonald's and grab a burger, right? And I'm not a McDonald's person. Like, I don't like McDonald's, but my daughter loves Happy Meals.
what
so,
kid doesn't, right?
so I find myself at McDonald's just because she loves Happy Meals, and it's easy for me to grab a burger if I'm in between showings and all of that stuff. So how do you make sure that you and your family and you all are taking care of yourselves?
Well, I mean, we all get busy, right? And we all forget. I know if I get into like some type of design mode or I'm trying to learn a topic, I get completely absorbed. And next thing I know, it's like 6 p.m. and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even go to the bathroom. I didn't eat. One of the best ways to really keep track of sustenance or water even, or just getting up moving around. Like, right now we're both sitting at our desk. My desk goes sit to stand because I will forget to stand pretty often. I mean, my watch reminds me to, of course, but set little alarms on your phone. I think that's important to set something just small, like, every 3 hours, you might want to grab something small to eat. Nothing crazy, don't overindulge, but something like that. And even when you're out and about, you're right. There's not always healthy food available, even like in a short amount of time. I'm not a health professional, of course, but versus not eating, sometimes grabbing that McDonald's burger can help. I mean, I would rather you eat something than pass out, fall down, bust your head, hit some sharp object, cause more damage just because we didn't want to eat the unknown meat of McDonald's, right? Like I'll eat some pink meat in a heartbeat if I don't fall and hit my head on some concrete.
Yeah, right. Are you vegan by any chance? Because you just said I'll eat some pink meat, like you don't eat meat. So are
No,
you-
no, 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 no. No, I was thinking like the pink mystery meat of McDonald's.
right.
Who knows what that is? No, I'm not a vegan. I don't eat a lot of meat in general. I kind of regulate it. It's just because everybody's different, right?
Right.
If you actually dive into way we should eat, the pyramid, the pie chart, whatever the hell it is these days, it's not legit. It's not based on actual science. If you look up actual science, there's tests where you can actually take in order to find out what type of foods you should and should not eat. Everybody's different, right? Some you might have to indulge in a little bit more meat, some you might not have to. It all depends on your body chemistry. So if you're going to go eat, you should know what type of food you shouldn't eat, right?
Right.
Like you can do a food test. It's I think it's like $150 at random places. Target, I think, even sells them. It's good to know because if, say, for example, if you have a reaction to beef, right, and you don't know that, but you eat beef because you like it,
Right.
but then you start getting like, a little inflammatory, a little swelled up from the meat, that's probably your body indicating, say, well, you probably shouldn't eat this shit,
Right.
right? But yeah, when you're out and about, it's setting those alarms. And really, if you're, for example, in real estate, if you're out showing property, try to plan your route around food. Like just say, all right, I know it's going to be a busy day, so I'm going to set up these house showings in between. So on the way there, I can just stop and grab something, or grab a little like little lunch box, like an insulated lunch box, and just bring like nuts, small veggies like carrots, celery, that type of thing, just to have some sustenance while you're out. And that way you don't do what I'm dubbing the Wilbur Lane and pass out.
Yes. So funny thing is, I have everything you're talking about. Like I keep the little trail mix packets.
Yeah.
And I have water that I keep in my car and all of that. And sometimes I think in this business, you get it's like these adrenaline rush phases, right? You out, you're showing houses, you're putting in listings, and I mean, you just busy, right? So that's those are the things that you're focusing on. And like you said, the time passes, and it's sometimes some days are a blur to me. Like I get up
Yep.
at 4 or 5 in the morning, and then I'm looking, and it's 6 o'clock, right? So sometimes it just passes me by. I don't even think about eating because I guess I don't have the normal triggers that most people would have. Like if lunch isn't in my time block, then I'm probably not thinking about it, right?
Yep. Yep.
So, and like you, I have to physically say I need to take a break. And sometimes my daughter is that person. Like that, my daughter,
Nice.
she'll say, "Well, Dad, you've been sitting in front of that computer for a while." And then, okay, now I got to stop. And she's 4 years old. So if she knows it, then I should know it too. But sometimes it just doesn't click like that.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes those little extra things like your daughter and that's kind of why I mentioned to set alarms on your phone. If you know it's going to be a busy day, just go ahead and program it in, do it every 3 hours, every hour, whatever. And not only that too, Will, even though you might not have eaten that day, when you have those instances, it's always best to go get checked by a doctor just to be safe, because it could be some preliminary, it could be something a little bit more extreme than what we think, than just exhaustion, lack of sustenance, that type of stuff. If your blood sugar levels plummet, that could be other things. It's always worth the shot. Just take a look, because if you catch something early, prevention, that type of stuff is always better than seeing something crazier.
Right.
I know, for example, 10 years ago, I would get randomly lightheaded all the time. I just was like, oh, I didn't eat enough, or maybe I just need some air. But what it was is that I was getting high blood pressure.
Okay.
It was going up, which obviously can affect your heart and everything like that. And then it would bottom out. And I was like, oh crap, I don't know what's going on. I went to the doctor and they said that I was borderline hypertension, that type of stuff. But in real estate, well, stress is skyrocketing, right? And the best part was, they're like, what do you do? And I was like, I'm a real estate agent. He's like, oh, I was about to tell you to calm back on stress, but not sure how to do that at this moment.
Yeah, that's not happening.
No, but one thing he did advise, which I took to the heart, is he said, do more physical activity, because in real estate, we think we're doing a lot of physical activities. We're showing house, but you need a little bit more intensity, right, to get that out. So he said, what do you like to do? I said, well, I spent most of my life in martial arts, boxing, sports, etc. And he said to He's like, well, great, buy a heavy bag at home, and when you're feeling really stressed, just go unleash on the heavy bag.
Right.
He said that'll bring your levels down like pretty quick, because if your stamina is pretty low, you're only going to last like 10, 15 seconds, maybe 30 seconds. And you're like, okay, I give up. You win, you win, you win. But that's something that even with you getting busy, or even the people listening, find that outlet, and don't make it stationary. If it's a walk with your daughter around the block, if it's a heavy bag, if it's, just randomly just do push-ups until you can't do them anymore. Those type of things are going to help regulate our body, because we get very stationary.
Yes.
I mean, how long does it take to put a listing agreement, right? 1 to 3 hours, depending on what the hell you got to put in it.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can get a sit-to-stand desk and stand, and that's a better option than sitting. However, you're still not doing a whole lot other than yelling at the screen for MLS not working because it's like massively outdated. Right? Like, I don't know what you guys use. I assume you're using Paragon like most of us. And it looks like DOS 2.0. It's utterly atrocious and freezes half the damn time. And then you upload the photos and it reorganizes the photos that you just organized. And you're like, I will throat punch you, MLS. I will throat punch you.
I think that's what you're mentioning right now is very important, because my phone tells me every day that I've done the allocated number of walks steps I need to take for the day, right? But I really need to increase that intensity, right? I need to make it intentional. I'm always talking to my agents about being intentional. So we are very intentional about how we go through life in real estate and how we get people to talk about real estate. We need to be just as intentional when it comes to taking care of ourselves, right?
Will, I have to interrupt because you just said the golden nut. Be intentional.
Be intentional. That's right. So I have, and this is a personal thing for me, I have, especially within the last week or so, I have decided that I am going to be intentional about taking better care of myself and increasing the intensity of my physicality and how I do this business and my personal life.
I love it. That's what we all should do. And whether we're in real estate or, you're just trying to get a business off the ground, or you're just trying to get out of bed, is be intentional. I tell a lot of my coaching clients is that if you don't have purpose or focus, you're not going to do it.
Right. That's right.
Right. And that's part of being intentional. If you wake up and you just, I don't know, you didn't sleep very well, or you have a lot of things going on and you're kind of creating an avalanche around you. And I said, you create, notice that I said, you create, right? Mm-hmm. Because when you create the avalanche, it's not external factoring that's doing it, it's internal factoring. You're letting it create an avalanche. So the way out of that avalanche, like Will said, is to be intentional. Find that purpose, find that focus. Why in the hell are you crawling out of bed? And a lot of people are like, oh, so I can get my job and blah, blah, blah. Especially those of us that are entrepreneurs, work for ourselves, etc. Here's the reality. This is what a lot of people don't even want to say. They're like, oh, man, no pain, no gain, hustle, grind, blah, blah, blah. I'm telling you verbatim, and there will be people disagree with me, and they are full of shit. Okay? If you are having a freaking terrible day, and I mean it is beyond your control, right? You are not creating, it is some internalized shit that's going on. Mm-hmm. Don't get out of bed. Take the day off. It's okay not to be okay.
Sometimes we forget we have that option, right?
Right? Yeah, because we're like, oh man, I gotta get out, I gotta make it happen, I gotta do this. And you're going hard, but just like the moron that came up with the saying, no pain, no gain. Dude, if you're working out and your body is hurting, stop. You're at high risk for injury, right? And we all know, anybody that knows anything about fitness in general knows that if you are too sore to go do those things, go do some active recovery like yoga, not extreme yoga, not that weird white girl shit of being in yoga and it's really hot. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Do light yoga. Just go out and just stretch it out and move around, because then your body will recover. Because guess what? When we take that break and do the recharge, we come back stronger.
All right, so I'm going to piggyback, because a few months ago, probably 4 months ago, I started out my workout again. So me and my brother, we both joined the gym, and we hired a coach, and we started our workout again. So I want to stress to people, do not overdo it. Because the first day, we overdid it. We were in there, we're pumping out, and
Yeah.
we on the bike, we're doing it all, and I must have been sore for like a month after that.
Yep. 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 Well, for those of us, and it's not always the case with everybody. Everybody's a little different, of course. But I know once I hit 40, I still have the mind of a 23-year-old in the gym,
Yeah.
and I'm in there crushing it, and I know better. But you get that high vibe, and you're on a different level, and especially if it's leg day, and then the next day you can barely walk. You're like, oh my god, what the hell did I do? And that next day turns into a week and a half of recovery.
Yeah. When you're so sore you can't sleep, that's not good.
So Will's right. I mean, just like everything, if you're working out or if you're trying something new, you're doing a new job, don't overkill it.
Right.
The old saying, Rome wasn't built in a day,
Right.
right? You got to pace yourself. You got to take your time. If you're going on a new project within your business, or you're trying to get a business off the ground, or you're trying to go in and change your health, and whether it's eating correctly or working out, pace yourself. For example, in our house, we never really drank a whole lot of soda, but it was there. And what we did is like, okay, instead of making all these massive rapid changes, which when you do that, it doesn't really last long,
Right.
is we said, okay, for this month, the one thing we're moving is soda. And then the next month it might be sugars or simple carbs or whatever. And then you start moving those out over time, right? And this is what I used to tell. And for those of you who don't know, I used to be a certified personal trainer with National Academy of Sports Medicine. And when you would have a client come in and say you had some weight, right? You wanted to lose up weight, you wanted to trim up. Everybody would say, well, I need to lose 15 pounds. I could show you how to do that in a week, 2 weeks, maybe even a month. That's easy. Losing weight's easy. It's keeping off is the problem. And not only that, if you lose too much weight rapidly, you end up with like all kind of disorders. You can screw your skin up. You can screw your bones up with osteoarthritis. Like all kinds of things can happen. So I would always say, listen, you didn't gain this weight overnight, so losing this weight overnight is not a good thing.
Right.
It took a while, so it's going to take a little while to trim up and lose this weight.
Right.
Okay, so let's not cause any health issues. Let's pace ourselves. Be intentional about it.
Right. It's funny as I'm listening to you talk about this, how much of this you can apply to both things. Like you can apply this to your business life, and you can apply this to your personal life, right?
Yep.
So, because I'm constantly telling my guys is don't turn the water faucet all the way on, right? You get it's a little bit at a time. It's especially with a company like ours where you have all this technology, right? And you want to jump in, you want to learn everything, but like you said, Rome wasn't built in a day. So work on one thing, focus on the one thing, master that, then move on to the next thing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the whole crawl before you walk situation, right? Now, don't get me wrong. Some kids, two out of my 3 kids, literally just got up and walked one day. They didn't really crawl. It was crazy as hell. But you know what they did? They thought they were moving, then bam, on their face, right? So you know what that taught them? It taught them to start crawling and then try to attempt to walk, right? So we have that, especially those of us guys that listen and those of us that are over 40 specifically. We go into the gym and we start that mentality, man, I'm going to crush that shit. I'm going to go in, I'm going to knock it out, right? And yeah, you'll knock it out, but then you're going to knock yourself out the next few days. And then that gym, all of a sudden that 3 to 4 day soreness turns into a 3-week vacation essentially.
Right.
And then you got to start back over and you're like, damn it, I knew I shouldn't have did that. So if we go in intentional though and say, listen, all right, what I'm going to do is when I start my workout, because a lot of people automatically go to like a stage 4 workout, and stage 4 is really, it's strength training, right? They automatically go in, they go strength training. But if you actually look at it, there's other steps. Like if you go step 1, that's corrective exercises. That's where you're correcting your imbalances. And then you go to step 2 where you're hitting stability. There's more things than just going in and pushing iron. Yeah. So if I would take a client and I would say, all right, here's what we're going to do. we're not really going to sweat a whole lot, but we're going to challenge you. So let's do some stability. Sometimes they stand on one foot and bring one foot up and rotate out. You know how many people can't do that? You have too many imbalances.
That's right.
Like, for example, if I sit on a couch, and those of you that just listen to audio, you're not going to see this, but if you watch the video, you know, when I sit on the couch, I lean, right? How many of us go full mode driving our car? Right? So we're teaching our body imbalances, and if we go to try to do something where we're standing up, you know, often your back gets tight. You're like, oh man, that actually sore, and then you cave and you're back like this.
Right.
So the same thing when you go to work out. Don't go in there and start hitting the weights. Go in there and start practicing your balance and stability. That's going to correct those issues. It's going to make a bigger difference because if you do that now, when you go to do a bicep curl, you're going to do it in the proper format, which means you're going to have more rapid growth and less downtime.
There's going to be some 24-year-old realtor somewhere listening to our podcast saying, man, those two old guys don't know what the hell they're talking about.
That's about it. Hey, you know, when I was 24, I probably would have said that. Oh my! And you know that's okay. If you disagree with it, that's cool. You know, let me know when you're 42, and I'll tell. And then you're like, yeah, you were right. I'll be like, I know, I'm very rarely wrong unless you talk to my wife, of course. But no,
that's what's on my mind, man. It's just keeping that on the forefront now and making sure I'm around at 65 when my daughter will be graduating high school.
You ever do that though? I mean, clearly you did. When you're saying, all right, like, because you know, Tammy and I, we have our youngest at 3, little 3 and a half, and I'm like, okay, in 20 years, you know, I'll be 62 and he'll be, you know, 23. Okay, all right. If I can make it to that far, I'm okay.
That's right.
After that point, hey, if shit happens, I'm good with it. I made it that far. Kids are good. They're old enough to take care of themselves. Winning.
That's right.
You know. I wasn't sure if I was the only one that had ever done that. I always do the math.
It's a constant thing in my mind.
It's just wild because, you know, I know you just turned 50. You know, turning 42, you kind of start looking at things way different. And sometimes people do it earlier, sometimes much later, and sometimes you have to have a life-altering event to really trigger it. But I look at it as that, you know, being intentional about everything that I do is so I can have more free time at home.
Right.
So whether it was my coaching business, the real estate franchise, or health, or whatever else, if I could be more intentional into that, I actually create more available time so I can spend time with my family, my kids, or even my personal own activities where I can get my head straight and, you know, maybe read a book or play a video game or go work out, walk outside, whatever have you. Right. And I think definitely, dude, you knocked it out of the park with that golden nugget. See, now you got me saying nuggets. The golden nut, we're going to stick with that. That's going to be the theme. The golden nut is being intentional.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
I love it, man. Well, hey, for all those that listened and enjoyed our 2 squirrels, as you see, we bounce around because that's the way squirrels do. But you know what? The squirrel always gets the nut.
That's right. I never can follow you up because you always ended up so good.
Just thank everybody. Hey, thank you so much. Hey, you know, follow us and all that stuff. Because by the time we release these episodes, there'll be enough that you can listen to content and follow us up. You know, we'll be on social media. All of that will be posted out here once these things are rocking and rolling. Yep,
and tell your friends about it. Let's increase our listenership. And if you got some ideas of what we should talk about, let me know that too. I'm more than happy to discuss anything.
Absolutely. All right. Well, you guys got the golden nugget. See, nugget, damn. You got the golden nugget for today. It's be intentional. Clearly, I was not intentional with that.
We have to start a swear jar for every time somebody says nugget.
I'm telling you, man. All right. Well, that's all we have for today. Wish you guys the best and be intentional.
Awesome.